Hey, and we're back on part 2 of how I make my lace front, my custom lace front series. In the last video, I showed you how to make the foundation, and this is the results of that video. Everything is all whip stitched together, and I did start a little bit of the knotting here, as you can see at the front. And in this video, we are going to sew the wefts on the back of the lace front using the Singer heavy duty machine. Right here, I am loading some thread onto bobbins. I'm making 3 so I don't run into running out of thread, which is the worst while you're trying to sew wefts on. And as I mentioned in the last video, I am reusing some hair that I used previously in a sew-in. I didn't want to keep sewing this hair in and out, so that's why I decided to just make a wig. And I have quite a few pieces of wefts that I took out from my sew-in. So I use 2 techniques while I'm sewing wefts. The first one, I usually always just go straight in on the nape piece, because usually the nape is pretty stable and I can just go right in and sew on the weft. So I sew it as close to the bottom edge as possible without impeding any of like the stretch band or the adjustments or anything like that. As you can see, I just moved it out of the way on the bottom so it wouldn't catch. Anytime you're sewing on anything really, but anytime you're sewing the weft, you want to do a couple back stitches just to lock everything in place. And so this is what it looks like on the inside, and that's what it looks like on the outside. And then I'm just going to go through and cut off the extra piece of weft, and every weft that I sew on, I also go in and cut the strings each time. So now with the remainder of the wefts, it's a little bit of a tedious process, but in order to keep the shape that we created with the head mold and also creating a custom foundation, we need to pin on each of the wefts. If you skip this important part, your wig will be misshapen, especially if there's any stretch involved. So you'll see me measure out. I'm not making this wig super thick. It's already kinky straight hair, so I'm not going to use that many wefts, but I'm measuring out the next weft. It's going to go behind the ear on each side, and I'm taking my straight pins and going up and over the weft to lock it in place, kind of like when you're pinning any type of fabric. And so you see it's contoured to the head the way it should be on the head mold. And then I'm going to unpin the foundation and take it to the sewing machine and go ahead and sew it using that straight stitch. Another tip is removing that piece on the sewing machine, just so that you can get the wig under there better. So you see me doing the back stitch, and I'm just going to stitch and take out the pins as I go. And again, I'm avoiding the elastic band. And so the last step to each stitch or a row of wefting is to cut off the strings. I do this every time so that at the end I'm not digging through hair trying to find all the strings. I know that I've got all of them cut out. And there are the finished results of that second weft. And so I will be quiet now and let you just watch the rest. Oh, I'm sorry, before I leave, I'm showing you right here how I split the remainder of the wefts, because again, I don't want to make the wig too thick. I like it to be a little bit more natural, even though it did still end up kind of on the thicker side in my opinion. But I'm splitting these wefts so everything lays flat and we're not using as much hair. And I'm just taking a seam ripper. I also use a straight razor. And then I'm going to take some Fray Stop fraying. It's for fabric, but I use it on the inside of the weft when I split it so that none of the hair comes out over time. It's waterproof and washable, and the Stop Fray is very flexible as well. It dries clear, but it's going to be sewn into the inside of the wig, so you'll never see it anyway. But yeah, I just apply this and kind of rub it in with my nail, using my nails as tools here. And it takes about 20 to 30 minutes to dry completely. So you don't want to use the weft until it's dried completely. And also, if you plan on washing the hair, you want to wait at least like 48 hours to wash the hair to get that Stop fraying wet again. Because if you get it wet too fast, it's just going to turn white and it's going to be a mess. So you need to give yourself some time if you're going to use this before washing the hair. Okay, so now I'm just going to continue pinning and sewing on weft by weft. Alright, now we have mostly all of the wefts sewn on. I'm showing you the inside of the foundation, how neat and clean those straight stitches are. And now we just have one more at the top left to go around the perimeter of the closure. So you'll see me do the exact same steps, pinning and sewing these last wefts on. Okay, so now that I've finished sewing on all of the wefts to the back, I am adding the wig back onto the foundation, back onto the canvas head, and I want to pin it down with some bias tape. And so we do this so that the lace can be ventilated without moving around too much or causing any holes by the pins and damaging the front of the lace. So I'm going to just pin this down with the bias tape all around the hairline so that I can do the final part, which is knotting the rest of the frontal. And that's about it. Now I'm ready to knot the top, and I will be back for part 3 when I have finished knotting and I want to try this on and show you the results. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope to see you back in part 3. Hit that bell notification to be notified of when I do drop part 3, and of course leave me any comments down below. Check out the description box for more info, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.